Hi, it's me, RightAway1. You guys already know how much I love the Sonic series, but since I've only reviewed one of the games, I decided to make a list of my favorites, so you guys can know which ones I like without having to wait a million years for me to review them. So, welcome to RightAway1's Top 15 Sonic Games. Here we go! Number 15 is Sonic Colors. It's pretty fun. It has good level design with a lot of variety. The graphics are really colourful and nice looking as well, and the music is great too. The story kind of sucks, but the game's still fun. Unfortunately, this game has way too many 2D sections. The 3D sections are super fun, but there's just not enough of them. I don't hate the 2D, but I don't love it either. The main gimmick of this game are these little aliens called Wisps. Sonic can absorb them and use their powers. White Wisps fill your boost gauge, Cyan Wisps turn you into a laser, the Jade Wisp turns you into a ghost, the Yellow Wisp turns you into a drill, the Orange Wisp turns you into a rocket, the Green Wisp turns you into a weird spaceship thing that lets you float, the Pink Wisp makes you spiky and stick to walls, the Blue Wisp makes you turn into a cube, and the Nega Wisp turns you into this big purple monster that eats everything in its path. The Wisps are kind of cool, I guess. I like the Laser, Drill, Frenzy, and Spiky Wisps. They're pretty fun. If you want to play Sonic Colors, I wouldn't recommend the Ultimate version unless it's your only way to play it. It's really buggy and just looks weird. I kind of regret buying it. Sonic Colors' intro cutscene is pretty cool and it's really nostalgic for me. The end credits song is also good as well. This game also has this mode called Sonic Simulator. You can play it single player or multiplayer. It's kind of like the VR missions from Metal Gear. You unlock Sonic Simulator levels by collecting red rings, and after getting all of them and finishing all the Sonic Simulator levels, you unlock a really cool reward that I don't want to spoil. I'd probably prefer the DS version of Colors since it's a rush game, but I haven't played it yet. At number 15 is Sonic and the Black Knight. I don't know if this is controversial or not, but I think Sonic and the Black Knight is awesome and very cool and epic. The story is amazing, one of the best Sonic stories ever. The voice acting is also incredible. Jason Griffith's Sonic performance in this game is amazing.
I'm Sonic, Sonic the Hedgehog. I have no master, except the wind that blows free.
In fact, this game has my favorite version of Sonic ever.
Merlina, every world has its end. I know that's kind of sad, but that's why we gotta live life to the fullest in the time we have. At least, that's what I figure.
The soundtrack is also super great. The gameplay isn't amazing, but I think it's fun. Sonic has a sword which is super cool. There's this jumping slash attack you can do and it's really fun to jump into a line of enemies and do it. You slash through a lot of enemies as you run through the levels. Speaking of the levels, they're all like medieval fantasy areas, like a castle town, a cave with a dragon, and a mine. They seem more like areas from a Zelda game or something. Also, the final boss is very cool. Sonic turns into Excalibur Sonic and great music starts playing and it's so cool, oh my god. So yeah, this game is epic. There's also cool night versions of other Sonic characters like Blaze, Shadow, and Knuckles. And there's a multiplayer battle mode which has normal versions of the characters and night versions of Jet and Silver, which is cool. I would have liked it if they're in the main game though. You can actually play as Lancelot, Gawain, and Percival in a few levels of the main game, but I prefer playing as Sonic. His sword swings are better and he's just more satisfying and fun to play as. Number 13 is Sonic Frontiers. A lot of people really loved Sonic Frontiers, and I loved it as well, just not as much as the later games on this list. The movement feels really great in the open zones, and there's a ton of platform challenges littered around the world. The environments look really nice. They don't really look all that Sonic-y, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. The story of the game isn't amazing, but it has some good parts. I liked Sage, and I thought the characterization was really good, and a big improvement over the last few games before it. This game had a bunch of really cool CGI cutscenes in the trailers, but for some reason they didn't have any in the actual game. This game has a lot more of a combat focus than most of the Sonic games. While you're running around, you can find different enemies and mini-bosses, who are mostly pretty fun to fight. I thought the combat was pretty fun and cool, but I think Sonic has potential for even better combat. I had a lot of fun on the cyberspace levels, trying to get S ranks and stuff, but I was disappointed that there are only 4 styles of graphics, and I don't think Sonic controlled super well in them. I feel like Sonic in 3D has been done better in other games. Also, the 2D parts kind of suck in cyberspace, and the ranking system was a bit inconsistent. Some levels it felt like you really had to master them and get the perfect run. For some, you can make tons of mistakes, miss shortcuts, and still get an S rank. But I still had a lot of fun. If you do end up really hating the cyberspace levels, most of the stuff in this game is optional, so if some parts aren't fun for you, you can skip them by fishing with Big. The boss fights in the game are very epic and cool, and the music that plays during them is amazing. The game is really fun and has a lot of content. It even had 3 free updates which added tons of stuff, like music tokens that let you play a bunch of songs from other Sonic games as you're running around, a bunch of different challenges, and even a new chapter where you can play as Knuckles, Amy, and Tails. I would definitely recommend the game. It's pretty great and has so much content. Number 12 is
Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing!
Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing is really fun and underrated. There's a lot of tracks and it's just so much fun to drive through all the levels, drifting past corners and trying to get a faster time. The All-Stars are pretty cool too. It's really cool that they made a unique ultimate move for every character. Unfortunately, there's no online on the PC version, but you can play local multiplayer. I've played this game since I was a little kid, and it's still really fun to play from time to time. A lot of different Sega franchises are represented as well, which is cool. Unfortunately, there's no Knights, Kiryu, or Bayonetta. Also, Banjo and Kazooie are in the Xbox version for some reason. In the game, there's a lot of stuff to unlock in the shop. You can buy more tracks, more characters, and music using Sega Miles, which is a currency you get just by playing the game. The game also has a mission mode like Mario Kart DS, so there's a lot of stuff to do. I would definitely recommend this if you're looking for a fun kart racer that isn't Mario Kart. To be honest, I kind of like this game more than Mario Kart, but it might be because I played it more as a kid, and you can play as Shadow the Hedgehog on a motorbike, driving through downtown Shibuya while listening to the Concept of Love. Number 11 is Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed. Like the first, it's a fun kart racer, but this one has a lot more variety with its tracks, and a lot more franchises are represented. Even Team Fortress characters and Wreck-It Ralph are in this game. The gimmick of this game is that your car can turn into a boat or a plane at different parts of the track. I'm not a huge fan of the transformations, but I don't hate them or anything, and they do add more variety. This game also has a huge amount of single player content with its great World Tour mode, where you go through tons of different races and events, and can unlock tons of tracks and characters. To be honest, I kind of prefer how the car's controlled in the first game, but this one just has so much more content, and the World Tour mode is so good that it makes this game even better than the first. Number 10 is
Sonic Rush!
You guys already know how much I love Sonic Rush. I already made a whole video on it, so I won't talk much about it here. Basically, this game has an incredible soundtrack, really fun gameplay, and also introduced Blaze the Cat, so yeah, it's very awesome and epic. Number 9 is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. You might be surprised to see this game at number 9 since it's a lot of people's favourite, but I have some very strange and uncommon opinions about this series as you'll see later on. Anyway, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is a really great game. The sprite art is great, the level design is great, and the music is pretty good. I actually prefer Sonic 1's soundtrack. I've replayed this game a few times and I still haven't gotten bored of it. It's a lot of fun to speed through the levels. This game also introduced the Spin Dash, Super Sonic, and Tails, who's adorable in this game. He follows Sonic around through most of the game, and if you plug in another controller, someone else can play as him. But it's not as good as it sounds. The camera only follows Sonic, so it's really easy to die or get left behind. If you want an actual multiplayer mode, there is a 2-player race mode where you race through a level. In the game, if you get to a checkpoint with 50 rings, a portal appears above it, and you can jump through to teleport to a special stage. You run through this half-pipe area trying to collect rings and dodging bombs, and if you collect enough rings, you get a Chaos Emerald. The first game also had Chaos Emeralds, but they barely did anything. In this game, after collecting all 7 Chaos Emeralds and collecting 50 rings, then pressing A twice in a level, Sonic turns into Super Sonic, which is extremely cool. Super Sonic is invincible to most damage, and he's also faster than normal Sonic, and can jump higher. When you play as Super Sonic, you lose 1 ring every second, and if you run out, then you turn back into normal Sonic again. This game is my dad's favourite Sonic game, and I think it's my older brother's favourite as well. With good reason, it's a great game. Number 8 is Sonic Riders. Sonic Riders is super cool. It's one of my favorite racing games ever. The game is a lot more complicated compared to something like Mario Kart, and it can be kind of confusing if you don't learn the mechanics. When I played this game as a kid, I just didn't understand it at all and struggled, since I was expecting something more like Mario Kart. But now that I'm older, I have a lot of fun drifting past corners, taking shortcuts, and spinning around to do tricks in the air. This game also has a really cool, unique art style, with its colourful, rough outlines and heavy use of shadows. The game even has a super awesome anime intro, which is really well animated and is amazing. I think the story of the game is pretty basic, but I like it. It's very cartoony, which makes it more entertaining. I might just like the story because of nostalgia though, because I used to love watching the cutscenes on YouTube since I wasn't good enough to see them in game. This game also introduces 3 new characters, the Babylon Rogues, Storm the Albatross, Wave the Swallow, and Jet the Hawk. I really like Jet and Wave, but I don't really care about Storm. Jet is one of my favourite Sonic characters ever. I think he's really cool, his design is awesome, his voice is funny and epic, and I really like his personality and rivalry with Sonic. My favourite stages in this game are Sega Carnival and Sega Illusion, which are these really cool tracks based on a bunch of Sega franchises. You can also play as some Sega characters in this game. The Sega levels are really hard to unlock though. I only found out about them because the great Sonic Riders DX mod has everything unlocked by default. Every track in Sonic Riders has 2 versions, which are actually very different from each other, so every level is actually 2 levels. This game also has a battle mode, but I don't like it, it's not that fun. Sega, please make a new Sonic Riders, I'll be your best friend. At number 7, we have the first game I ever played. As a kid, I could never get past the 3rd zone, but I still had tons of fun replaying the first 2 again and again. And now that I'm older, I get to have fun playing the rest of the game as well. This game has one of the best soundtracks in the series in my opinion. All the vocal tracks are amazing, and the level music is great too. Some of my favourite level themes are Grand Metropolis, Mystic Mansion, Casino Park, and Seaside Hill. This game plays very different compared to other games in the series, and it's a little janky, but it works. Instead of just playing as one character, you play as a team of 3, with 1 power character, 1 flying character, and 1 speed character. The teams are Team Sonic, which is normal mode, Team Dark, which is hard mode, Team Rose, which is easy mode, and Team Chaotix, which is this weird kind of mission mode where you have to do certain objectives to finish the level. It's kind of like the missions in Shadow the Hedgehog. It's kind of annoying, but the Chaotix are great characters, and it's really entertaining to see them interact. This game goes back to the classic formula of each zone having 2 acts and a boss, and it works pretty well. To unlock the true final boss, you have to finish the game as all 4 teams and collect all the Chaos Emeralds. I don't think I ever collected any Chaos Emeralds as a kid, because first you need to find a key, then you need to get through the level without getting hit, and then you get sent to a special stage. I used to think the special stages were really annoying and hard in this game, but I remember there was some really easy way to do it as a power character, but I forgot how. As much as I like this game, when I was trying to unlock the last story, I got really bored and had to take a break from the game. It's just kind of annoying to play the same levels again and again with not that many changes. Once you get through all of this though, you're rewarded with a super cool final boss against this giant metal Sonic Dragon thing with one of the best Sonic songs playing in the background.
You actually thought you could defeat me by transforming into a monster?
I just wish Tails and Knuckles turned into super forms instead of these weird powered up ball versions.
Too bad it's all over. For you!
Number 6 is Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. No, this is not a joke. I legitimately think Sonic 06 is a really fun and great game, and it's one of my favourite games ever. I know people are going to think I'm absolutely insane for putting this game higher than Sonic 2, but this game is just so much fun for me, and I always have a great time when I turn it on and play a few levels. I also like the cutscenes and story, mostly Silver and Shadow's stories. They were really good, and Shadows has some of the best cutscenes and character moments in the series.
Shadow? Even if you believe everyone in the world will be against you, know that I'll always remain by your side. Remember that.
I will.
Shadow is like my favourite character in anything ever, and this game has the best version of him.
If the world chooses to become my enemy, I will fight like I always have.
He's so cool and awesome and epic. I think Silver is a pretty great likable character as well, and the music is great in this game. This game has a lot of flaws, but for me, the good outweighs the bad. The 3 different stories had a lot of variety, and there's a lot of content in the game. There's a bunch of levels, and there's also DLC which has redesigned harder versions of the levels and stuff. In this game, I also liked how the characters talk during the levels. It's pretty cool. I love it when you're halfway through a level as Shadow and he shouts,
Let's get moving!
I love Sonic and Shadow's levels, but I don't love Silver's. I still had some fun on them though. This game also has hub worlds. They're not as good as Sonic Adventure's hub worlds since they feel way more lifeless and boring, but they're still pretty cool. Sonic 06 is great fun for me, but if you're a normal person, I'd recommend playing P06. It's an amazing fan remake of Sonic 06, which fixes tons of the problems with the game and makes it one of the best Sonic experiences ever. So far, it has all the levels from the 3 main stories, and it's insanely fun. You should play it! Number 5 is Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Sonic 3 and Knuckles is pretty cool. It has great level design and is really fun to play. There's 14 zones with a ton of variety, the music is great, and there's even a pretty cool story. I always liked this game, but I didn't really love it until I started playing for school. I only started playing like that because I saw a really good video on YouTube called You Have Only Experienced 25% of Sonic 3. The video is by Alex Yard Adventure and you should definitely watch it if you like Sonic 3. The level design in Sonic 3 is great because the levels have tons of routes which encourage you to replay so you can reach the higher ones. And there's also a lot of hidden secrets which encourage exploration, which will be important if you want to get the Chaos and Super Emeralds, which you need to fight the final boss. To get emeralds you have to jump into giant rings which teleport you to a special stage. In the special stage you have to get blue spheres while avoiding red ones. I used to find these really hard, but I can do them pretty easily now. And if you do fail, there's like 50 giant rings hidden in the game, so you get a lot of tries. This game also has some pretty cool new additions, like Tails has the ability to fly now, and you can also play as the newcomer Knuckles the Echidna. His story even has its own cutscenes and even an awesome new final boss against Mecha Sonic Mark II, which gets even cooler in the second phase, which I'm not going to spoil. There's also a bunch of routes in the levels that can only be accessed as Knuckles. You can also glide, break walls, and climb stuff. In this game, Sonic gets a new ability called the Insta-Shield. It's a really cool ability where by pressing A again in the air, you become invincible for a split second. You can also defeat enemies and reflect projectiles. It's really cool, but it does take some practice to get good with. Sonic also gets access to elemental shields, which are these really cool items that give you different elemental powers. The fire shield is my favorite. It makes it so when you jump and press A, you air dash forward as a fireball, destroying the enemies in your path. And it also makes you immune to fire damage. The water shield lets you breathe underwater, but it also lets you do this quick drop thing. And finally, there's the lightning shield, which lets you double jump and makes rings magnetized towards you. By collecting the Chaos Emeralds, you can turn into Super Sonic or Super Knuckles, but by collecting the Super Emeralds, Sonic turns into Hyper Sonic, Knuckles turns into Hyper Knuckles, and Tails turns into Super Tails for some reason, which are very overpowered forms. Tails even gets 4 Super Flickies that destroy all the enemies in your path. In some versions of the game, Tails only has a Hyper form, but in some he has a Super form as well. Hyper Sonic and Knuckles are basically just their Super forms, but better. They're faster and have a move which kills all the enemies on screen. If you have Super or Hyper Sonic, you can face the true final boss, where you fight Eggman in space to recover the Master Emerald. This game is really fun, I really recommend it. Number 4 is Sonic Mania. In my opinion, Sonic Mania is the best 2D Sonic has ever been. The level design is amazing. It perfectly balances speed, platforming, and exploration to create one of the best platforming experiences of all time. The graphics are beautiful, and all the new zones are so creative and cool. Even the returning ones are cool since they feel like improved versions of the originals, and they usually have some new stuff going on. The game also has great music and my favourite special stages in the franchise. The special stages are 3D in a Sega Saturn-like style. You run through a racetrack collecting orbs and rings, trying to catch up to a UFO that's holding an emerald. This game has 3 playable characters, 5 if you have the DLC. They're all pretty fun to play as. If you're wondering, the DLC characters are Mighty the Armadillo and Ray the Flying Squirrel, who are some pretty obscure characters from the 1993 Sonic arcade game, Sega Sonic the Hedgehog. Mighty also reappeared in Knuckles Chaotix. Mighty has this ground pound attack and Ray can fly, but his flying isn't like Tails at all. It's more momentum based. While you're in the air, you tilt upwards or downwards to swiftly glide through the levels. His controls can take a little getting used to, but if you get good, you can complete levels insanely fast. Also in this game, Sonic has a really cool new ability called the Drop Dash. By holding A after jumping, Sonic gets a burst of speed when he lands. It's a really fun ability. The game also has some cool unlockables by completing Blue Spheres levels. You get to these by jumping through a checkpoint with 50 rings. You can get the Insta-Shield from Sonic 3 and the Peel-Out from Sonic CD. You can also unlock Knuckles in Knuckles mode where Knuckles follows you instead of Tails, and there's also a few other unlockables as well. If you have the DLC, there's also Encore mode, which is pretty much just a recolored Mania mode, except it starts off with a little bit of Angel Island Zone from Sonic 3, and you play as 2 characters at once. Also, instead of lives, you get other characters, and when you run out, you get a game over. It's kind of hard to explain. A lot of people don't like Encore mode, and I was disappointed by it, but it's still kind of fun because it's Sonic Mania, and the character switching gimmick is kind of interesting. Number 3 is Sonic Generations. I love Sonic Generations so much. It feels like such a great celebration of the series. It brings back 9 stages from throughout the series with classic and modern versions. The story kind of sucks and so does the final boss, but the gameplay is just so fun. I love replaying the stages again and again, trying to get a faster time. In fact, I think this is one of the most replayable Sonic games. The game also has 90 missions, which are pretty fun. They give you a lot of pieces of artwork and music and stuff for completing them, which is cool. The classic levels are a lot of fun, but my favourites are the modern ones. I think Generations classic controls very different to the actual classic Sonic games, but he's still really fun to play as. I love the overpowered spin dash, it's really fun. Imagine if the classic Sonic portions were pixely and made in the Sonic Mania style. That could have been awesome. This game also has great music and a skill system where you can buy and equip different skills, like the Fire Shield from Sonic 3 and Time Break from Sonic and the Secret Ring. This game also has some pretty cool bosses, but the final one kinda sucks. The game has great graphics and a ton of unlockables. Also, if you're playing on PC, there's like a million great mods. I highly recommend this game, but maybe you should wait for Sonic X Shadow Generations. Unfortunately, the old mods won't work on it, so maybe you should get the original while you still can. My favorite levels are Seaside Hill, Rooftop Run, Speed Highway, City Escape, Sky Sanctuary, Chemical Plant Zone, and Crisis City. All the levels have a lot of cool set pieces and stuff, like in City Escape when the gun truck starts chasing you into a wall and trying to hit you with swords and stuff. It's cool. Number 2 is Sonic Unleashed. Sonic Unleashed is one of the best games ever in my opinion. The daytime gameplay is insanely fun. It just feels so good boosting through the beautiful levels with the incredible music in the background. In the game, you go through a bunch of different countries, trying to return the world to normal. The game feels like such an adventure around the world. It makes sense why it's called Sonic World Adventure in Japan. The gimmick of this game is that at night, Sonic turns into this pretty cool looking werewolf form called the Hedgehog. As the Hedgehog, Sonic loses his speed and his arms become stretchy. His levels are a lot slower paced and more explorative. You go through beating up enemies with a pretty fun combat system, and you also solve some very basic puzzles. I think the Hedgehog levels are a lot of fun, but I don't love them as much as the daytime stages. I think the medal system is what's holding this game back from being higher on the list. In Sonic Unleashed, in order to move on to the next level, you need to have a certain number of Sun and Moon medals, which can be found around the hub worlds and the levels. It can be annoying sometimes, because you just want to move on to the next level, and then you have to go and replay a bunch of old ones to explore for more medals. It's not too bad though, because you're still playing Sonic Unleashed levels, so it's still fun. Although I thought the Hedgehog levels were a lot of fun, I think they have a ton of potential for improvement. If they made a sequel, I think they could have made them very awesome and epic and fun. This game also has a pretty good story and an incredible opening cutscene, which is one of my favorite Sonic things ever. So is the whole game actually. Number 1 is Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. It's probably annoying for some people that I put 2 games in the number 1 spot, but I just couldn't decide between these 2 games. They're like my favorite games of all time. I'm definitely gonna have to make long videos on them at some point so I can talk more about them. Sonic Adventure perfectly transitioned the series into 3D. All the Sonic levels are insanely fun. They're designed super well and there's a bunch of cool set pieces and varied levels. Sonic also controls amazingly in this game. I actually have a lot of fun with all the playable characters in the game, especially Amy. I really like her hammer attacks, and it's so much fun to do the hammer jump into the air. I also really like her character model in this game. My least favorite character to play as is Big the Cat, who fishes. It's an interesting idea, but I don't think it was executed very well. The fishing just isn't very fun, and it's kind of confusing. I remember as a kid, I was really excited to play Big's fishing, but I was really confused by it, and I couldn't finish his story for years. This game also has great music. All 6 playable characters have their own themes, which are really good and fit super well with the characters. My favorite song is the main theme, Open Your Heart. This game was super ambitious. It has 6 interconnecting stories with different gameplay styles. There's hub worlds and a Chow Garden. The story is pretty good as well, and the cutscenes probably wouldn't be considered good, but they're really entertaining. The hub worlds are pretty cool too. They make the game feel a lot more like an interconnected world, since you know where all the levels are taking place and what's in between. Also, something cool about this game is that if you don't have enough memory in the memory card, you get different voice lines of the characters saying,
Hey! You don't have enough memory in the memory card!
You can really tell how much effort they put into this game. And its sequel. Sonic Adventure 2 is an incredible game. The gameplay is super fun and has lots of variety with its 3 gameplay styles. The soundtrack is amazing, and in my opinion, it has one of the best stories and some of the most entertaining cutscenes in the franchise. It also introduces my favorite character, Shadow the Hedgehog. This game has my second favorite version of him. Instead of having stories for every character, this game has a hero story, a dark story, and then a short last story. It also only has 3 gameplay styles instead of 6, but they feel a lot more refined and polished. In the first game, the other stories other than Sonic mostly just had slightly changed versions of his levels. I still like the other stories and I'm glad they exist, but I think it would be way better if the characters had their own levels, or if the levels were redesigned more to fit with how they control. But I get why they couldn't do that. They probably didn't have enough time or budget to do all that. This game also removed hub worlds, which is kinda sad because I really enjoyed exploring them in the first game, but I get why they removed them, because this game moves around locations constantly, so it wouldn't really make sense to have one. This game also introduces Rouge the Bat, who's a pretty cool character. She's a jewel thief, but she's secretly a government spy. Her theme is amazing, and so is the rest of the music in her levels. She shares the emerald hunting gameplay with Knuckles. In this game, you can also play as Eggman for the first time. He shares the mech shooting gameplay with Tails. I would talk more about the story, but I don't want to spoil it. I'll save it for the proper Sonic Adventure 2 video I'll make eventually. I actually have a lot more to say about most of the games on the list, so I have to make videos on them in the future. Welcome to my outro. Thanks for watching. Sorry about how the footage looked in some of the videos. It's because I was running out of storage on my PC, but it shouldn't be a problem for most vids in the future. Like and subscribe please. I'm probably gonna make some sort of anime video or AMV next, but I'll make another game review after that, which will hopefully be better than my previous ones.